to Spiritual Calisthenics. Christ is in our midst. Today on Thursday, February 22nd, we commemorate the finding of the precious relics of the holy martyrs in the quarter of Eugenius. We also commemorate our righteous fathers Thalassius and Baradatus, and Saint Anthousa the martyr and her 12 servants.
Regarding the holy relics of these saints, they were found in the court of Constantinople called Eugenius when Thomas was patriarch of the city in 607 to 610. Your martyrs, O Lord, in their courageous contest for you, received as the prize of the crowns of incorruption and life from you, our immortal God. For since they possessed your strength, they cast down the tyrants and wholly destroyed the demon's strengthless presumption. O Christ God, by their prayers, save our souls, since you are merciful.
From St. Peter's first universal letter. Beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal which comes upon you to prove you, as though something strange were happening to you, but rejoice insofar as you share Christ's sufferings. Now Christ himself said this, that our works will be tried with fire, that we will suffer the same as he suffered. But rejoice insofar as you share Christ's suffering, that you may also rejoice and be glad when his glory is revealed. If you are reproached for the name of Christ, you are blessed, because the Spirit of glory and of God rests upon you. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or a thief, or a wrongdoer, or a mischief maker. Yet if one suffers as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but under that name let him glorify God. So in other words, when we suffer, sometimes we say, oh, I'm suffering because God wants me to suffer, and it's not because of your Christianity, but because of our wrongdoing. And we try to make ourselves martyrs when the reality is that we've committed wrong ourselves. St. Peter is talking about when we suffer for the sake of being a Christian and living a Christ-like life. For the time has come for judgment to begin with the household of God. And if it begins with us, what will be the end of those who do not obey the gospel of God? And if the righteous man is scarcely saved, where will the impious and sinner appear? Therefore, let those who suffer according to God's will do right, and entrust their souls to a faithful Creator. So I exhort the elders among you, as a fellow elder, and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, as well as a partaker in the glory that is to be revealed. So when he's saying as a presbyter, he's talking about as clergy. He's exhorting the clergy to first of all be the first and the foremost of examples, but also to teach the right. Tend the flock of God that is in your charge. Now this is important because when Peter was redeemed after he denied Christ, Christ our God, when he redeemed him, told him, you will do this, you will achieve selfless love by tending the flock of God. Because Jesus Christ asked Peter when he was being redeemed, do you love me? And Jesus Christ used the word agape, which means selfless love. Opposite ego. Peter answered with philo, friendly love, because Peter could not rightly say, I have selfless love. I denied you. I did it to save myself. That's not selfless love. That is selfish love. And so Peter cannot say that. And Jesus Christ said, feed my lambs. Jesus Christ asked him a second time, do you love me? Again, agape. Peter said, I do love you, with philo. Tend my sheep. Jesus Christ asked him a third time, do you love me? But this time he used the word philo, showing that he had lowered the bar for Peter. And Peter was upset. He knew he was being redeemed because of his denials. He was upset that Christ lowered the standard. And then he said, tend my sheep. So 3 times Jesus Christ tells him, the way you're going to achieve selfless love is by taking care of the flock, by putting them first. That is agape, not me, them. So St. Peter is telling the presbyters to do exactly what he did, not by constraint, but willingly, not for shameful gain, but eagerly, not as domineering over those in your charge, but by being examples to the flock. Now this is important because Christ is the shepherd. Christ gave the call to the disciples to be the shepherds also. So Peter is the chief shepherd of the people of Rome. But he is not speaking right here as a bishop, but as a presbyter. And this is important because we are all the sheep. Now, anyone that has been to a farm and has seen how sheep work, there's one sheep with a bell around its neck. And the shepherd looks to that sheep, and that sheep will follow the shepherd. And all of the other sheep will follow that sheep because they know that that sheep is the leader. This is important because the priest is not supposed to be living differently than the other people. He is supposed to be living differently in the sense that his life is supposed to be holy. But he is supposed to be an example for them to follow, not something where they go, oh, well, you're a priest, so you live differently. No. He's supposed to be that sheep with a bell around his neck. That is why for the majority of the service during the divine liturgy, the priest is facing the same direction as the people, worshiping God as an example for the people, and not facing the people except when he is blessing. And when he blesses, the hand is the anagram of ICXC, Jesus Christ. So the priest is not the one blessing. Christ is the one blessing. So he is being an example to the flock. And when the chief shepherd is manifested, you will obtain the unfading crown of glory. Likewise, you that are younger, be subject to the elders. Clothe yourselves, all of you, with humility towards one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So those that are humble, those that know who they are, and bow their heads before God, God will raise them up and give them the gift of grace. From the Gospel according to St. Mark, the Lord said, beware of the scribes, who like to go about in long robes and give salutations in the marketplace, and the best seats in the synagogues, and the places of honor at feast, who devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. So Jesus Christ is speaking a double entendre here. First and foremost, he's talking about the ruling class of that day, the scribes and the Pharisees that are dressed richly, but making a pretense, oh, I'm so humble, but they're not. What he's also saying is, again, a double entendre. He is talking for us to be humble, to not puffing ourselves up, to not put ourselves first among other people. But he's also trying to tell the clergy for all time, for all Christendom, that this is not the way we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be dressed in our fancy, beautiful vestments and lording over people and stealing the inheritance. We are supposed to serve the people, servant leadership, and take the money that is given to us and help people. This is why the church at its heart is philanthropic, helping people that are in need. They will receive the greater condemnation. Now, why are they going to receive the greater condemnation? Because their sin, their self-aggrandizement, is done in knowledge. So when we sin fully knowing what we are doing, the judgment that will be reaped upon us is going to be worse. So the clergy, that sin, for them the judgment will be worse. This is why it is said that the road to hell is paved with the skulls of dead priests, and the lampposts are the bishops, because to us is the greater condemnation. And he sat down opposite the treasury and watched the multitude putting money in the treasury. Many rich people put in a large sum, but a poor widow came and put in 2 copper coins, which make a penny. And he called his disciple to him and said, truly I say to you, this poor widow has put in more than all those who are contributing to the treasury, for they all contributed out of their abundance, but she out of her poverty has put in everything she had, her whole living. So in other words, this is why stewardship is not about dues. It's not about a set amount, but it is about proportionality. If we are giving pennies when we have millions, then we're not really giving anything. Stewardship is supposed to pinch a little bit. It's supposed to be an actual gift. Whereas this woman, this widow, is showing her complete faith and love of God because she's giving everything. Proportionality, she's not giving 10%, she's giving 100%. So she's giving 10 times what she should be giving. This shows her great faith and why Jesus Christ is highlighting this and showing us that we must be giving in proportionality. Because if we give greatly, we'll receive great reward. If we give nothing, then we're not going to get much back. So this is how we ought to live our lives in our stewardship.
I hope that you've enjoyed today's Spiritual Calisthenics. Have a blessed and wonderful day.